Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update. Join the only official Telegram channel of RAU'S IAS Study Circle to get relevant material and important updates. Hello everyone and welcome to Daily News Simplified, your one-stop solution to detailed analysis of current affairs which are published in the Delhi edition of Hindu newspaper. Articles dated 25th of September 2021 are listed on your screen, and the timestamping for these articles is already given in the description box. So let us begin with the first article itself. So the first article for today's discussion got published on page 06 of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper. This article is actually very relevant for your General Studies paper 3 when it comes to the employment generation. However, in today's context, we will read up this article, break it down into different parts, and also add up extra information which can help you to frame a good answer if the question is on the foreign direct investment policy in India and its impact on the employment. Well, as far as this article is concerned, the author has actually called for a new kind of quality job creation through the inclusion of FDI. Well, you must be well aware that foreign direct investment or FDI is one of the important sources of capturing the monetary resources and refuel the economy. Well, context of the article says that rising unemployment in India. We are well aware that because of the COVID-19 crisis, there is a sudden rise of unemployment across the nation. However, the article actually calls for the role of FDI, which can help or can be limited as far as employment boosting is concerned in India. Well, when it comes to the relevance of this article, it is relevant for your General Studies paper 3 in mains examination with special respect to the generation of employment and FDI. It also deals with another subtopic of your General Studies paper 3, investment models, where FDI is an important topic. As far as content for today's discussion is concerned, we will deal up this article from the mains perspective. It will help you to frame a good answer for the mains examination along with logical points. So, the content would include the current unemployment trend in India, why the unemployment is rising, role and issues of foreign direct investment in the employment generation in India, what are the basic issues which we are facing as far as different sectors are concerned with respect to the foreign direct investment, and lastly we will look into some innovative steps which could be taken up to provide the resolution to the unemployment situation. But before venturing into the discussion itself, let us look at this question. This is a practice question and says that critically analyze the role that foreign direct investment, that is FDI, can play in promoting the employment generation in India, and this has to be written in 250 words. So now let us begin a discussion and see what FDI can do for employment generation in India. Well, as far as current unemployment trend is concerned, one of a private organization which also deals in the non-governmental initiatives, Central for Monitoring Indian Economy or CMIE, has recently released some survey data in which the claim has been made that unemployment has increased in India from about 7% in the month of July to 8.3% in the month of August. Well, this is an important data which you can quote right now. You can also include this data in your notes, and you can also quote this data in your mains answer writing. In absolute terms or in the real terms, it simply means that in the last 1 month, 1.9 million people have lost their jobs. 1.9 million people means 19 lakh people have lost their jobs in just 30 days in India. This also brings us to the important trend which is published by the government, because the first one was published by a private agency, the second one is by the government. Now the important source of government data is your economic survey, from which we have also taken this screenshot. This data is available in the table 7 of important chapter where the economic survey talks about the employment trend in India. Well, as far as this data is concerned, it is based on the periodic labor force survey which is undertaken by National Statistical Organization since 2017. As per this data, the unemployment and employment rate between 2017 to 2018-19 was around 3.4%. Out of this, the unemployment level in urban areas was just 1.33% and in rural area it was higher to 1.71%. Well, the data set is not relevant for you to mug up. You just need to go for the trend. It simply says that unemployment in rural area is higher than the urban areas. Secondly, we know that in rural areas, the unemployment rate of male members is higher than that of the female members. When we come to the urban areas, the trend is followed where urban unemployment rate among male members is higher than the female member. So it simply means that male members are more unemployed than the female members, which we can also see through these two data sets. The third observation from this table comes from the fact that the unemployment rate in rural India is higher than that of the urban India. And last, and the fourth observation is that the rural female unemployment is higher than the urban female unemployment. So the females in rural areas do not find jobs easily, but the females in urban area can find jobs in much easier manner. Now, one thing which is important in this graph is all ages PS plus SS. Now, what is this? PS plus SS is nothing but primary and secondary services, which together makes up the usual status approach in unemployment data measurement in India. Now, let us see what this usual status approach is all about. Well, this approach actually uses a reference period of 365 days, that is 1 year preceding the date of survey of NSSO or NSO for measuring unemployment. It simply means that when a person goes to survey, they ask the other person who is part of the survey that whether he or she had any level of employment in the past 1 year. If that person was employed in any activity which is either primary or the subsidiary, they will be considered employed. And based on this approach, what they have created the entire survey of India. And the same approach is also used by many other organizations. So whenever you read about PS and SS kind of thing in economic survey or any current affair, you should come across to this approach known by the name usual status approach. Now let us see why unemployment is rising in India. Well, the most important thing is that the largest number of jobs which went down were in the form of farm jobs or the agriculture sector. Well, India is one of the nations which is functioning under the frictional unemployment. So a person who is unemployed in the agriculture sector because of the transformation from manual to the mechanization is becoming unemployed on frictional basis. And this is one of the reasons why agriculture is losing the highest jobs. Now the point is, we are not only losing the job in terms of quantity, we are also losing jobs in terms of quality, because the new jobs which are created in the entire economy is not based on the high skilled sector. What we are observing is that the unemployment is leading to the small businesses and small traders. We have the best example of self-employment, where a farmer who got unemployed is shifting to the urban areas in order to provide the rickshaw pulling service. And this is one of the reasons why India is turning and this is one of the reasons why India is called as over-tertiarized economy. Over-tertiarized here simply means that the labor is moving from primary sector, that is agriculture, to the service sector, which is a tertiary sector. And this is also one of the reasons that manufacturing sector in the past 1 year has lost almost 9.4 lakh or 0.94 million jobs. So what we are observing is that labor is moving right from your agriculture to low-end services. Now when it comes to the normal condition, in an economy when there is a seasonal unemployment, the labor from the agriculture goes to the construction sector. But the current situation says that the construction sector is itself shedding the jobs. Why? Because the economy is going through the low investment phase. Now what we are observing as of now is that when a person who is moving from agriculture to the construction sector could not get a job, will then end up going to the household sector or the low-end jobs, which is mostly unorganized. So as a result of the entire phenomena, what we are observing is the dampening of the economic recovery. So what economic situation we were expecting India to have is not the current scenario. Now, this is the real crux of your article. What role can foreign direct investment play in the economic generation? Well, as per the traditional theory or the classical and the Keynes approach, traditional theory says that when there is an increase in the investment level, it will also lead to the increase in the output. And output here means every good and service which is produced in the economy. And when goods and services are produced at a higher ratio, there is an increase in the demand. Take the case of car industry. Okay, so in this car industry, let's say the Maruti Suzuki wants to increase their investment. Why? Because they want to increase the output. They want to sell more cars in the market. And in order to do that, what they will do, they will ask for more labor from the market, and this will increase the demand or the employment level in the economy as a whole. Now, the point is the current situation goes with the downward trend in the private investment, and there is a high limitation on the government expenditure as far as investment is concerned. And because of the entire phenomena, government is mostly extending its focus on the external fundings through FDI. But FDI has promising as well as limitation results. When it comes to the relevance of the FDI, well, it can fill up the saving and the investment gap. That means it will provide us the revenues which is required to boost up the industrial sector. Secondly, it will create a preemptive supply. That means it will provide the output before it was actually demanded. This is the Say's law of economics, which says that supply creates its own demand. Then we have that the FDI will help create the initial demand in the market. The best example here is your mobile phone. So there is a firm or there is a company, it launches a mobile phone, and then mobile phone becomes an important part of human life. So the initial demand comes from the FDI because the foreign companies have technology. They also provide new avenues for the labor. So earlier, before liberalization, India had only 2 or 3 brands of cars, but now we have many brands of cars. So because of that, we have markets, we have factories, and we have more employment. It also plays an important role in fueling the skill set of the labor class. The best example here is the rise of IT sector in India. So we have software engineers just because there is a demand from the foreign companies. It also brings the best practices in the labor market. It brings also the importance of high work culture. And lastly, it also helps the labor class to interact in the international market. We have the best examples of IT professionals going to America, Canada, and European countries to gain more expertise. However, this is just the one side of the coin. FDI also have many limitations. The first one being that uncertain nature of investment. The best example here could be your Nokia. Well, Nokia was an important company which was selling millions of units every year. But now the company has almost dead in India. They winded up their entire business and thousands of employees got unemployed. They have sudden breakdown of the system. So one day they were earning hundreds and thousands of crore. The second day, the same FDI bringing company can go bankrupt. Here the best example could be the Citibank, which has decided to wind up its business in India because of the limited market. Then we have the companies which are bringing the FDI does not have social development as an objective. Rather, they have profit orientation. They are not coming here to provide employment, but they are coming here to earn profit. Then we have intellectual property issues because most of the FDI is coming with the intellectual property limitations. So the technology used by Apple iPhones cannot be used by other companies. So whatever they are bringing as a business is limited to their own company. Then we have labor exploitation in the form of working hours, low wage rates, and inflexibility in their work culture. We have more mechanization in practice. So the companies which are coming in India through FDI are definitely bringing the employment, but they are also bringing more mechanization in practice. So the foreign companies which are working in India employing more machines and robots rather than the human labor. These companies and FDI targets the highly skilled labor, and they have very limited approach to provide employment to a person who was a farmer before. And lastly, they are concentrated more in the urban areas or the metro towns. So the best example here is the IT sector. So the foreign sectors, so foreign companies such as IBM, Accenture, or even your Google, if they are coming to India to provide employment, they will target the urban centers and not the rural economy. So given these limitations, let us look into what specific issues are there when it comes to the FDI and the employment. The first one is the sector-wise approach, where we will talk about agriculture. Well, it has a very limited scope because FDI is not permitted in the agriculture sector. When it comes to the manufacturing, FDI can play high role to develop the employment, but again it is subjected to the government policies and of course your international relationship. In the construction sector, it is highly vulnerable to the demand sector because as of now the construction sector is going through a damp or a recession phase. We have FDI in the automobile sector, which is very impressive because here the role of MSME is very important. In India, MSME sector meets up to 30 to 40% demand of the automobile sector. But the current trend says that the automobile sector is moving more towards the mechanization and robotics, which is going against the demand of employment. And lastly comes the financial sector. FDI by the MNCs require highly skilled labor, which is actually very limited when it comes to India. India's labor is not highly skilled. As per the different reports, India's highly skilled labor constitute only 2 to 3% of the entire labor force. And we know entire labor force is just 1/3 of the population. So given this discussion in place, let us look into what way forwards do we have. How we can utilize FDI to create employment. The first one is the promotion of MSME. So all the FDI coming to India, either directly or indirectly, have to take some kind of local help. And in that, if they take the help of MSME, they will definitely boost up the employment generation in the country. The best example here is your automobile and the electronic sector. Then we have the initiative where labor intensive sectors could be open up for more FDI. So sectors like textile, leather industries can now be open with 100% FDI, where funds can come and employment can be generated. We can also go for China's model of development, that is attracting those labor intensive industries where low skills could be accommodated. Next, we have promotion to anchor firms and the global value chain. The best example here could be your Apple computers or Apple iPhone. So when Apple computers comes to India, the other firms across the world will have confidence and they will come up with more initiative and more funds to invest in India. Then India can also attract those firms and companies which are now existing in China. As of now, they are moving more towards the Southeast Asian countries like Vietnam. So those companies can be attracted to India to promote employment. We can also go for economic enclaves. It is nothing but the reorientation of special economic zones in the form of EEE. This was recommended by Baba Kalyani Committee. The best purpose of this would be that they will be situated on the coastal areas and will meet the international demand directly. And lastly, government can come up with higher funding and tax soaps to those companies which are labor intensive. So if a foreign company is trying to bring funds to the country with higher labor intensive, they should be provided better initiative than the other ones. Now, after the entire discussion, you will be in the position to answer this question in clear terms. With this discussion in place, let us now move to the next article for the day. Now, the second article for today's discussion got published on page 12 of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper. And the focus of this article is the 5G technology and your TRAI, which is also known by the name Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. Well, as far as context of the article goes, it says that Department of Telecommunication has approached the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India on pricing, quantum of spectrum and other modalities before rolling out the 5G spectrum. Well, you must have heard about the fact that government is looking to provide 5G services across the country. But before that, government is also looking for comprehensive and clear roadmap before rolling out the services. Now, As far as UPSC examination is concerned, we will be reading about the important technologies in the news. This is important for your prelim examination. When it comes to the mains examination, we will look into two different aspects. First is the statutory body, which in this article is your TRAI. And as far as General Studies Paper 3 is concerned, we will look into the 5G technology and a discussion given the kind of awareness which is asked by the UPSC in the syllabus from the field of information technology. So let us begin a discussion on 5G technologies first. Now these are some basic ideas behind the benefits of 5G or fifth generation technology in the world. Now 5G simply means that there will be an upgradation of a data transfer of up to 20 Gbps. Now Gbps simply means gigabyte per second, which is very high. If you are going to have that amount of peak speed, it would be tremendous. But beyond that, there are many other aspects as well. And these aspects include that there will be 10 times faster the speed of data transfer. It also means that there will be decrease in the latency. So those who have no background in this area, for them latency, or in layman language, latency means that delay in data transfer. So it can be as low as 1 milliseconds. Now you can imagine the delay in data transfer. So you can download your videos, you can watch your videos on YouTube instantly at the highest possible resolution. This is what 5G is all about. The next is that it will provide 10 times faster connection density. Connection density means at a particular network, at a particular area, there can be more amount or more number of mobile connections which can run, and each of them can run at a higher data transfer. So this also means that the number of connections will be denser with the 5G technology. The next being that it will provide 10 times the peak uniformity in the network itself. It will provide 3 times faster efficiency because achieving even more bits per hertz with advanced antenna techniques. It means that the available spectrum to the companies can be utilized for more number of networks, including the higher speed of that network. The next one being that it would provide 100 times faster the traffic capacity. Now understand this through a different example. Suppose that there is a 2-lane highway between two different cities. So this one, on this side you have Delhi, on the other side you have Mumbai. Now on one side you can go in this direction, on the other side you can go in this direction. And as of now, at a single point of time, only one vehicle can travel in a single lane. It means if any of these vehicle is damaged on the road, it will cause a huge and long drawn traffic jam, and the same is applicable here, or this is what you were observing during 2G or 3G technology. However, what we have done through 5G is that we have increased the number of lanes in a particular direction. Now instead of having a 2-lane road or a 2-lane highway, now what we have under 5G is we are having a 6-lane expressway. Now assume that all those cars which were running in the single lane are now running in the different lanes. Apart from that, we are now also having more other cars which are running in those lanes. What it has done, it has reduced the traffic jams, it has increased the density, it has increased the number of cars, and top of all, it has also increased the speed of those cars running on a particular expressway. And this is what similarly we are observing in the 5G technology as well, where density is high, network speed is high, there is low latency as well. And lastly, we see, of course, because all the above points, what we are going to have, we will have network efficiency. So call drops, falling in the network, or getting hanged in your data transfer will not be there under the 5G technologies. Now let us look into the benefits of 5G technology which we can avail in the near future. The first being that we will be able to download data at a faster or a heavier speed, and including the 8K videos and games. Now those who do not know what is 8K, understand this with a simple example. The video which you are watching right now has a maximum resolution of 720p. It simply means that on the screen which you are watching it right now, there is a resolution or a pixels which says 1280 into 720p. taken by the breadth of a resolution screen. So here what you are watching is 720p. If you want to watch this in the lower resolution, you can go for 480p, 360p, 240p and as low as 96p. The lower you go in the resolution, the quality of the image which you are watching right now will go on decreasing. You can see this through the setting button on your YouTube screen. The resolution will go downside and the image quality will also reduce as you go in the lower direction. 720 simply means that you are watching a HD resolution. 480 means you were watching at SD or standard definition. HD means high definition. If you go beyond this, you will find that the resolution will rise up to 1080p. This is your FHD or full high definition resolution. So in the place of 720, what you will have is 1080. As this has increased, this will also increase. So with all this discussion, we now come to a point that what is 8K? Well, 8K means the resolution of your screen can go as high as 7680 into 4320 pixels on your screen. Now you can imagine how large or how clear this image is going to be. Now when you have such a high level of image quality, it is obvious that you are going to consume more and more amount of data. For that, what you require higher and faster speed of your data connection. For that, 5G can benefit you. So this will enable 4K movies and video streamings as well as games. 5G can provide a backbone to the emerging technologies including your industrial revolution, Internet of Things, robotics, cloud computing and many other. It can also provide support to tele services including the telesurgery, real-time data analytics and many others. And lastly, it can also help activities like driverless vehicles, machine-to-machine communications and related concepts. There are some apprehensions which are attached to the 5G technologies and their rollout in India as well. First being that telecom partners or telecom service providers like Bharti Airtel and Vodafone have expressed that there is very high reserve price as far as auction is concerned and they won't be able to pay that kind of high prices. Apart from that, besides the spectrum, 5G will also require a fundamental change to the core architecture of communication system in India and that require a huge amount of physical and monetary investment. One of the report for 5G technology has stated that industry might require an additional investment of 60 to 70 billion dollars to seamlessly implement the 5G technologies and above all there is a necessity to increase the kind of investment in these sectors. But the real issue arises that as of now the telecom service providers are facing many kind of issues and problems in this sector because they have already been indebted with the low level of tariffs and high level of competition. 5G technologies have been appreciated across the globe. As per the OECD or the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, a committee was organized on the digital economic policy. This committee has stated that the 5G technologies rollout will help in increasing the GDP. So this will also help Indian GDP to increase further. It will create employment in the economy because this will provide a different incentive to the infrastructure both physically and the monetary based and it will also push up the service sector. And lastly, it will help in digitizing the economy including the e-education, e-medicines, e-services and whatnot. As per one of the high-level forum on 5G in India 2020, 5G provides an opportunity for industry to reach out to global markets and consumers to gain the economic of scale. Economic of scale means producing more given the limited resources in the most efficient manner. Previously, the Union Cabinet in India has approved a National Digital Communication Policy 2018. So UPSC can ask, they have been asking, so they can also ask such kind of policies in your mains examination. There are very rare chance that UPSC will ask about a particular policy in the prelims, but for mains they have this tradition. So apart from this policy, they have also redesignated the telecom communication as Digital Communications Commission. The objective of this policy were very simple. First being that we are aspiring to provide broadband to all in the country, including both urban and the rural centers. It is also envisaging for creating 4 million additional jobs in the digital communications sector. It is also providing for enhancing the contribution of digital communication sector to 8% of India's GDP from the current 6%. It is also aspiring for propelling India to be on the top 50 nations as far as ICT Development Index of ITU from the 134 in 2017. What is ITU? It is International Telecommunication Union, and it is one of the important international organizations which is working in the telecommunication field, including the rolling out and expansion of digital network and supporting the nations in order to do that. Next in the policy is enhancing India's contribution to the global value chains, and lastly ensuring the digital sovereignty. This is a very important and key word as far as international data transfer, data localization and data security. Now we come to the discussion on TRAI. Well, TRAI or Telecom Regulatory Authority of India was established in February 1997 under the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India Act. As we have discussed in the previous DNS also, that when an authority is created, it is created on the basis of a legislation. You will never find any authority without the act. So, the basic objective for which the TRAI was created included your growth in the communication sector. It includes both your mobile technology, that is wireless, as well as your wire technology. It also goes for the regulation of the telecom services. So the price which you are paying for the calls you make, or the price which you are paying for the broadband services or the internet services, everything related to that is regulated by TRAI. It also provides fair and transparent policy environment where private as well as public companies can come together on a level playing field and can compete for the better results. The headquarters of TRAI is at New Delhi. When it comes to the functions of the TRAI, well, it makes recommendation on the telecom sector that how the spectrum should be sold, how the auctions should be made, what, when and how the technology should be rolled out, including your 5G technologies. It also discharges the responsibility on smooth functioning of your telecom sector in India. And lastly, it makes non-binding recommendation. So whatever recommendation which we have discussed will be non-binding on the government. And government here means ministry which is dealing with the telecom sector. When it comes to the power of TRAI, well, it can have orders to furnish information regarding how many subscribers are there in the country, how many of them are using broadband, what is the current status of the companies, their revenues, everything. They also have appointments for inquiry into any issue which comes into the picture regarding the telecom sector. They also have power to order inspection when there is uncompetitive or when there is monopolistic practices. And lastly, it deals with the directions to the service provider regarding a particular practice. So today, let's say Jio, Vodafone or maybe Airtel cannot charge exorbitant prices from the customers because they are regulated under the powers of TRAI. Lastly, we will look into the composition. Well, TRAI has a chairperson and 2 whole-time members along with 2 other part-time members. The chairperson and the other members will hold the office for the term of 3 years or till they achieve the age of 65. Well, whichever is earlier. So this is the basic criteria which you also read in your Lakshmikant book. And lastly, the central government, not the president, not the legislation or the parliament, but the central government has a power to remove any member of the TRAI if he or she goes against the rule of service. Now, given this discussion in place, let us look into this important prelims related question for practice. So read this question carefully and answer in the comment box. So now we come to the important references. This article got published on your page 11 of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper and talks about China's move to make crypto transactions completely illegal in India. Now, when it comes to the understanding of cryptocurrency and blockchain technology, we have to go into much more detail. And in order to learn everything about the cryptocurrency and transaction, well, you can go through the DNS which was discussed by RAU'S IAS on 31st of January 2021, and you can learn about every aspect of cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, their benefits, their issuance, their types, and India's approach while dealing with this kind of digital currency. The second reference for today's discussion is related to the AUKUS. Well, this article was published on page 6 of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper and talks about India's approach towards your AUKUS strategy. Well, you must be aware of the fact that Australia, United Kingdom, and USA have come up with a new trilateral dialogue platform in which India, as of now, is not a partner along with the Japan, and both these nations hold an important strategy when it comes to the Quad grouping. So, under UPSC preparation, what we need to know is what is AUKUS, what is its strategy, and its role as far as India's internal and external strategy is concerned. It is also important for your General Studies Paper 2 International Relation. So, to learn more on AUKUS and its impact on India, go through the DNS of 17 September 2021. That is, this was discussed around few days back, in which we have discussed everything possible as far as AUKUS and its impact on India and its international relation is concerned. Well, this article was published on page 11 of Delhi edition Hindu newspaper and talks about the Chinese stance on the functioning of Quad grouping. Well, as far as this article is concerned, you should know every bit possible about Quad and their impact on India's international relation as far as India's strategic policy for Indo-Pacific and globe as a whole. To understand and learn more on this, you can go through the DNS which was published on 22nd of September 2021, that is just 3 days back. Go through this DNS to learn more on India's approach on Indo-Pacific region with special focus on Quad grouping. With this discussion in place, let us now move to the question of the day. So read this question carefully and answer in the comment box. With this, now we come to the conclusion of today's DNS. Thank you.